Hello and welcome to another MTD podcast. I will be your host, and I'm sat with two gentlemen from two companies you might think are competitors, but actually have a premium partnership. So, Andy, can you introduce yourself and the company you work for?
I can, thanks Tom. So my name's Andy Fifield and I work for Mitutoyo UK.
And Chris?
My name's Chris Sargent and I work for Renishaw PLC.
People might look at you guys and your companies and think, aren't they competitors? But you actually have quite a strong and long-lasting collaboration. So can you tell me a little bit about it?
Yes, so since Mitutoyo started selling CMMs in the UK, we've used Renishaw probe systems, and that's continued to this day. So a long-standing collaboration between the two companies and a very successful one.
Now, Chris, we talk about long-standing, but how many years are we talking?
That's right, so it's over 30 years in the UK, and Mitutoyo are a premium partner of Renishaw. Any frame that you buy from Mitutoyo with an indexing head will have Renishaw equipment on it.
Indexing head. I actually want to talk about your Revo probe system. So what is it and why is it so beneficial for customers compared to older versions?
So Revo itself is our new flagship product, if you like, with A and B angles in it. So it's a 5-axis head that takes into account the X, Y and Z of the 3-axis CMM, but introduces that A and B angle in order to scan much faster than the 3-axis, because on a 3-axis frame you're reliant on moving a large CMM about the machine volume, and that is intrinsically much slower because you've got the dynamic movement of the machine, whereas moving the A and B angles of the head is a much smaller entity and you can move it that much faster.
How many points can you take per second?
So we can take 4,000 points a second, and we can scan at 500 millimeters a second, depending on the feature size.
So surely that must be quite, well, beneficial for customers, but also the time savings on that must be quite large.
Absolutely. So when compared to PH10 or other 3-axis CMMs, you can scan 80% faster, and you can cut your run times down by 50%.
What's your system like, and how easy is it for somebody who has never run a CMM to actually get to grips with your software?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So Mitutoyo have our MCosmos software, which our customers know well, and has been long-standing. It's a software that's been exposed to a lot of customers, a lot of measurement challenges, and we've built various functions in to cater for the requirements of our customers and their components. And we also have to build in functions to cater for the equipment that we're using for the measurement. So in this case, a CMM, and the various probe heads that we might get from Renishaw. So as new technology comes along, we build in new functions, and our software lab have done a great job of building those things in. So yeah, people are interested. How do you use a Revo probe? What does the software do to make it easier? And we've built various tools in, which obviously we can demonstrate to our customers. We can train them how to use them, and our customers with Revo heads have found it to be very easy to program. It's very flexible, has a lot of good capability, and that's really down to the software and its function.
Can Fred in his shed get one piece of the software, and then your UK leading aerospace, automotive companies, is there room in the software to build with?
Yes, that's right. So our software is modular. As we described, we're exposed to lots of different components, lots of different use case scenarios, lots of different customers. And so what we can do is build up the modules in the software to make sure it's capable of doing everything that's required, but also that you don't need to buy parts of the software that you don't need. It's very flexible like that, and it's, you know, we're trying to deliver a cost-effective solution to the customers, and that's what that modular nature gives us.
Is there sort of a mindset that Mitutoyo are just for the big guys like your aerospace and your automotive industries? Do you do stuff for everybody? Is it cost-effective for everybody?
We try to be cost-effective for everybody. That's the target. It's true we do supply into the biggest aerospace companies in the country, but we also supply to small subcontract facilities that are doing quite specialist activities, and we work with the customer to deliver a cost-effective solution that's right for them. So really any industry and any customer it's possible for them to come to Mitutoyo and get what they want.
You've got the Revo system for Mitutoyo, but do you have other sensors and other probes that can be fitted to a Mitutoyo CMM if I don't need the Revo 5-axis head?
Yes, so we have PH10 heads and PH20 heads, which PH10 is a 3-axis scanning probe head with SM25 probes. The PH20 is a 5-axis touch trigger head, which again uses that 5-axis speed, but is touch trigger only. We have an RSP2, so our scanning probe, and we have a surface finish module as well, and we also have an ultrasonic probe. So we have all of these in the different rack, and as described, it's a multi-sensor system. And we can be scanning with our RSP2, just a sort of a standard styli, and then we can go to surface finish, and we've got lots of different types of modules that can get into all sorts of places, from just on the surface to even in like valve guides in the automotive industry. And we can take surface finish scans wherever, which is great because you can program them, and an operator can't say, oh, I don't like the look of that, I'm just going to scan that bit. It's actually programmed. So usually the machinists on the machine tool when programming know where the bad surface finish is going to be. So we can program to check those areas specifically, and they'll be programmatically scanned every time. And then we've also got our ultrasonic probe, which will take a wall thickness measurement, currently up to 20 millimeters, but that's due to increase.
Essentially, you're looking at everything a machinist will need to measure, you will be able to do with a Renishaw probe.
Absolutely, yes. We hope that you'll be able to put a part on and be able to measure everything that's required on the drawing to be output. And we're looking at lots of different sensors as well in the future.
Now, Chris, I know you actually have one or maybe a few questions for Andy. So I'm gonna leave you with the floor, and let's see what information I can learn from you guys.
Sorry, I wanted to just go back. You were talking about how the software will support more of our sensors in the future, and currently does. I wanted to know how it's licensed, and whether you need a new license for each different module that you add, each different sensor, I should say.
That's right, yeah. So as I described, we tailor our measurement solution to the customer requirements, and we try to make it cost effective. So where you describe which probing system we need, we would pick the correct probing system if it's PH10, but if we need more capability, more access capability for more complex components, then we'd be looking at the Revo, and perhaps if there's a surface finish requirement, we'd put the surface finish sensor on. And then likewise with the software, we're driven by the customer needs. So if they need to program from the CAD model, we have a module that allows them to import the CAD model, and that part of it's licensed. And if they have complex profiles to analyse, then we have a module of the software for that. And this is all licensed through a software dongle, and we put the package together according to the requirement. Other things we have, so we have dedicated gear checking, and we also have dedicated airfoil software, as a for instance, so we can build up the different modules and license accordingly.
Great to get questions from you guys, because obviously you guys are the experts in your field, so I can do as much research as I want, but I'm never going to know as much as you guys know. So it's always great to hear your questions, because it's what hopefully the audience will want to know. How is Revo just so much faster than a conventional contact measurement? Now I know we're talking about how fast you can only move as fast as
the CMM can move,
as the base.
Yeah. And
obviously you then start to get problems with that, because the faster you move the base, the less accurate it's going to be.
I think if I perhaps
put
a bit in from our side as well,
yeah.
I think when you're constructing a measurement program for a component, there's a lot of different aspects to consider, and the flexibility of the Revo really helps you produce a measurement program and a measurement solution that's as fast as possible. So the infinitely indexable nature of the head, so the fact that we can go to any angle, sometimes that might mean that we don't have to go and get a complex, what we call a dogleg probe. So we can build up probes with a crank stylus on that we can angle, and on indexing heads you might need that for access, whereas with the Revo we don't need to go and make a tree change, and so we're not losing time like that. So there's those elements to the speed as well. And then as Chris has described, for instance, if we're measuring a bore, traditionally we have to move all 3 axes of the machine, but with the Revo we can come in and we can do a very fast, what we call a helical scan, so we can scan round using that function in the Revo. And the cycle time savings are significant. So when we build all of these things together, at the end of it, the customer gets a much faster solution. So it's not just one aspect of it; it's the real capability of the system.
That's right. You point out the infinite angles is something I definitely forgot.
Actually, that was something I was going to ask about, because that was the infinite points was.
So one of the troubles with PH10 was always that you can only index every 7.5 degrees, and you have to calibrate each one of those angles. Whereas with Revo, you can just calibrate A0, B0, so straight down, and that calibrates out each one of the individual infinite angles. So when you come to inspect different bores, different prismatic features around a part, you don't have had to calibrate all of those different angles, which can reduce your calibration time dramatically, and also means that you get much smoother moves around the part, which then cuts down on your runtime, because you can inspect a part here, say, and then move around to another feature nice and smoothly, instead of having to come out, angle change, over, around, and then use, as Andy says, all of the CMM axes to inspect that feature. You just inspect it using the head.
Now, obviously, that must make such. I know we've talked about time saving per part, but if you've got to inspect a production run of parts, these smoother angles, not having to calibrate every time you've got to move your probe, the time and the cost saving must be, well, exponential at the end of the day, because you can just set it, like you were saying, you can just probe it 0, 0, and then just set it running. What is the bottom limit accuracy on a Revo head? Are we talking microns, tens of microns, or is it? Could I inspect anything with it and it'll be absolutely perfect?
Usually it depends on the framework of the CMM, to be honest with you, and the machine volume and the working volume. But anything, you can inspect down to sub-micron, depending on the framework.
Because you've, Andy, you at Mitutoyo, you've actually been with Revo since the very beginning. So you must believe in this to have it right from the start all the way through, and still to this day be using it.
That's right. So Mitutoyo were early adopters of the Revo. So we've seen the development and the improvements that have come with it, and the extra sensors. What we're trying to get our customers to focus on is the business case. So what's important is that the customer understands for their investment what are we going to get, and if they need that throughput, then that's what Revo gives them. I can give you another example. There is that the time it can take often to move to another operation or another piece of equipment. So when we talk about surface finish, that time is actually significant in a production cycle. And if you can just go onto the one dedicated piece of equipment and get everything done in one operation with one machine, you're really starting to get the benefits of the flexibility of the kit.
I've got one question left, and I promise this isn't to trip anybody up, but what is the future for Renishaw and Mitutoyo?
So the future is more sales. We've had a downturn with COVID, for instance. Industry has had a tough time with some of the economic climate recently, but everything's improving, and manufacturing methods are getting more complex. And as manufacturing methods get more complex, we have more difficult parts to measure from our customers, and that's what we like as a challenge. So if we can work with Renishaw and they can keep producing excellent and innovative probing systems and probe heads, then we'll fit them to our machines, and we'll get customers the solutions that they want.
That's right, and as Andy says, things are getting more and more complicated, so Renishaw are looking into more and more complex sensors to go on the Revo head. It's going to be that multi-sensor system, so we're going to have more and more different sensors that are going to come out, be available in that rack for you to inspect your parts, and M-Cosmos is going to be able to program those as well.
Well, gentlemen, I just want to say a very big thank you. From me, I've learned there's only so much you can do when you research on a night. There's only so many times you can read. So hearing from the industry experts on this, I'll be taking a lot away from this. And I really hope the viewers at home will do the same. So a very big thank you from me for this. If you've liked watching and hearing from industry experts, then please leave a comment below on who you would like to hear from next. And again, thank you for watching.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.